What's changed on the N250?
What has changed? So first, let's quickly summarize what happened with the N250 and the F250.
Okay.
The F250
please.
disappeared. Yeah, the F250 disappeared completely. I think it was only in production for a few months before the sales dwindled basically to zero, to the point where Bajaj said there's no point trying this out, so it's shut. I don't know whether it will return or not. I think there is a logical reason why it should come back.
And what is that?
A faired motorcycle in a 250cc class makes sense to me.
But if the company itself could pull
But if it looks like a Discover when it comes out, then nobody's going to buy it, because you do want a sense of size and premiumness to be associated with it, which I don't think the F250 was in any way capable of doing. But remember that the F had the more comfortable riding position because it had the taller handlebar and all of that. It was actually the logical motorcycle to have brought to your house instead of this naked N250 in some ways.
So the F,
I think, failed because of the styling more than anything else. It just looked too small, too meek. And remember, we were crossing Airoli Bridge together one day in the evening, and we both thought it was a Discover until we recognized it as an F250 later. I think that's the core of the issue. The N250 has also not done very well. This, I would think about it as a bug fix. And what Bajaj is doing is they've not raised the price a lot, but they're trying to raise the value quotient a lot. There are pros to this, but there is also one fairly serious con in there, and we'll come to the con. But what they've done is they have put upside down forks onto the Pulsar now, so value gone up one notch. The digital console has also come to the N250, which would be a huge story, except that it has come to everything simultaneously.
It's
so
the exact same cluster from the...
Slightly different in the sense there are more electronics on the N than the NS. So more things switch on and say other things on this console.
Oh, really?
But the fundamental layout and all of that remains the same. So if you think the NS's rev counter was too small to be read, so is the N's. If you think that the fuel gauge and the rev counter sitting on the left edge have too many similarities and it takes you a while to recognize that, yes, you have still the same problem. So the fundamental issue with this console is that it's a bit cluttered. The fonts are a little bit small. You do get used to it. It's not a crisis. But I think the big problem is they tried to fit it into the same space as the last one. And so everything's crunched into this space and it looks not so great because of it. Functionally, it's fine.
I think the readability aspect, like you were saying, I don't think the genuine issue is, I think there's too much happening in very little space.
Yeah.
So sure, I mean, on the one hand, you could say that, in some time you'll get used to it, but is it going to feel great at any point in time? No,
it's not a great user experience for sure. So that's one change was USD forks. One change is this console. Third is they've added a lot of electronics to this motorcycle, and some of it is interesting. We'll talk about it. So this has traction control. Remember, it's not ride-by-wire, but it has traction control, which is interesting.
Oh, really?
Yeah. They've got 3 riding modes, which are technically ABS modes, not riding modes. You've got road, you've got rain, and you've got off-road. There is a fundamental good idea in there. It's an insight that I think a lot of manufacturers would do well to also incorporate. The example that Bajaj gave at the presentation was also spot on, which explained the idea of that mode. We'll talk about it in detail. But apart from this, it's a CNG update, color and graphics. So it's a much brighter set of colors. There's more stickering going on, and none of the body panels have changed. And the issue that we had brought up earlier was that there are too many N series pulses that look the same. The only difference is now you get the white N250, which actually looks quite nice with gray and blue graphics. You get the red one that you'll see in the pictures in our story. And there is, I think, a black one. And 2 of them have golden USD forks, and one of them has black USD
no
forks.
Change to tire sizes or anything?
100, it's now 110. If it was a 130, 140, I'll put up the sizes, but the tires are one size larger. That's one of the sources of the con. We'll talk about that.
Okay. So now where do we go from here?
Now we go to the fact that the engine is the same as before, and it's a really nice engine to use. It's pretty smooth. Is it as smooth as possible? No, but it is smooth enough. You will not complain. It was always designed to produce a lot of torque, which it still does. So this is a really simple motorcycle to ride. Out on the highway, it doesn't feel as robust as an NS200 in the sense of the NS200 is coming into the performance when the N250 is leaving its performance behind a little bit. But competent highway bike, absolutely yes. Is the performance very different from the NS200 in total quantum of performance? Not too much. But in the city, significantly easier and very, very, very commuter-like.
If I may, since we're doing this back and forth between the N and the NS, what's the difference in power? Do you remember?
They're both 25 bhp motorcycles.
They're both.
But the N makes more torque using its larger engine for torque. And that's the whole point of the N. What Bajaj went and did this time is, instead of remembering what the Pulsar was supposed to be, they allow the NS to be those Pulsars. And the N is a hardcore commuter. Okay, if there was a TV channel
Sorry,
on which the N250 should feature regularly, that should be the Discovery channel. And this is a running theme. We'll come back to it. And I'm not very happy about where this N has
we're
reached.
talking about a Pulsar. That's a great commuter.
Effectively, yes. Right. And Bajaj did have a brand that did that. Let's see if you can discover that in the comments. Okay. So the point is, I really enjoyed riding it in the city, but in a non-engaged sort of way. So if you ride your motorcycle where you're not really an enthusiast, you just need a thing to get around. The N250 actually does a really good job of being a 250cc commuter in that mode. You don't pay much attention to it. It doesn't give you much feedback or reward, but it gets you there. It's reasonably comfortable. It'll have great fuel economy. This is a higher quality Pulsar than before. So when you compare it to the NS200 over a 2-year, 3-year, 5-year period, I think the N250 will last better. All of those attributes do accrue to the N250 for sure. But does that, in my head, make it a Pulsar? It's a weak proposition, to be sure.
We hope you enjoyed watching that, and there's plenty more where that came from on the main MotorInc channel. Please do catch us there and do like, share, and subscribe.